Hey everybody, I'm Aaron and I talk about life after loss. And I want to talk about 7 biggest traps to avoid after losing your spouse that I hope will be helpful for some of you guys. The first one is this, impulsive spending. Why do I say that? After you lose your spouse, one of the things that happens is you start thinking, gosh, maybe I should just get rid of this house. I'm gonna get rid of everything, get rid of this house, sell everything. I'm going to try to start over, create something brand new. Or maybe you're thinking, I'm going to go out and buy a new Porsche, right? Or a Lamborghini. Or you're going to make massive impulsive spending decisions or rack up your credit cards. I would encourage you not to do that. I remember putting guardrails in place for myself so that I didn't have to unwind something that I just didn't want to go out and have to rack up a bunch of credit card debt and then have to figure that out later. And so I just encourage you, these are things that hopefully are helpful for you. Don't do this. Don't go out and sell your house. Don't buy a Porsche. Don't buy a Lamborghini. Allow some time to go by before you go out and make any major financial decisions. Unsolicited advances. What do I mean by this and why would I say this? When you lose your spouse, there is a sense of loneliness. You're vulnerable. And the reality is there are also lonely women that are out there looking for good guys. And so they're going to come out of the woodwork, and they could come out a week after, a month after, 2 months after. And everybody's journey is different. So I'm not telling you when is the right time for you to start dating and when it's not. I'm just telling you that it's good to have some guardrails up because you don't want to fall into the trap too early because you're lonely. And so just encourage you, unsolicited advances, be aware, have some guardrails up for that. Number 3, avoiding the grieving process, especially guys, girls also. It's easy to avoid this. You don't want to deal with it, right? So it's you have these emotions that are coming up and you're with people and they're asking you how you're doing. Then all of a sudden you're starting to feel the emotion welling up inside and you don't want to be embarrassed or whatever it may be. You just don't want to have to deal with it. You push those feelings down. What I would say is, I heard somebody say this and it was so good. And it was essentially, grieving is going to wait for you to, so if you avoid it, it'll wait for you to be done avoiding and then you'll eventually have to start dealing with it. So anyway, I would encourage you, don't avoid, jump into it, hit it head on. I'd encourage you to do that. Number 4, becoming a recluse. This was something that I think everybody struggles with. I know that for sure I did. It's just really easy to lay in bed, get on your phone, scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that you're trying to just avoid having to, we were just talking about avoiding the grieving process. It's really easy just to avoid, and becoming a recluse is easy, right? Not having to be around people and just want to be in bed alone and not have to deal with things. Depression, it's part of the grieving process. But I would encourage you, whether it's finding a group to be a part of, friends that you need to reach out to, connecting with family members, this is going to be something that you may not want to do, but it is going to be good for if you do, especially in the healing process. Number 5, not letting go of belongings. I have friends who got rid of their spouse's things immediately. I have friends that have been 8 years and they still haven't gotten rid of their spouse's things, or they're still walking through that process. I think that this is an interesting one because you're tied to these things emotionally. And so they're a comfort that they're there, but there's also this piece that's once those are gone, they're never coming back. And so that's kind of that point that you're starting to move forward. And so I don't know exactly when the right time is to do that, but something that I did was I got a box for my wife and I started putting things that I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to get rid of. And I have one for my kids as well. And so when the time was right, we started putting those things in the garage, and then the stuff eventually we started getting rid of over a period of time. Now I'm on almost 2 years into this process. We haven't 100% got rid of everything, but most things everything's out of the closet, everything's out of the drawers, but there is still a lot of stuff in the garage and eventually we'll just donate. Biggest thing is you don't want to get rid of stuff too quickly because you don't want to regret it. But at the same time, you don't want to get stuck in the trap of having these things for too long to where you can't move forward. So I encourage you in that. Number 6, being controlled by other people's opinions. This is an interesting one. I have a lot of conversations with friends about this, but it's like you and your spouse, you guys had relationships with other couples, and then now you're not married anymore. You're essentially, she's not here. And so all these people that you know are watching you, and they are going through the grieving process also, but they're watching how you make decisions and what you do. And it's not just about dating. It could be about, work, or it could be about just whatever it is. But what I would encourage you to do is it's important to figure out what it is that you want and not allow other people's opinions to dictate or determine what it is that you're gonna do with your life. That's one of the things that I figured out along this way is, I realize a lot of times I'll go to other people and say, hey, what do you think I should do? And I'll make decisions based on what they think rather than just sitting here and going, what do I want? And then making a decision. And if you have good people around you, they'll tell you if that they have red flags. And so it's important to surround yourself with people that you trust, but don't be so concerned about the decisions you make based on what other people may think. The last one, number 7, is social media. Okay? So again, I'm not going to tell you when it's the right time to start dating and when it's not. But just like this one, you don't want to be controlled by other people's opinions, but you also want to be sensitive to the fact that others are walking through the grieving process also. And so it's not just you, right? And so sometimes we can fall into the trap of I'm the only one affected by this. The reality is your spouse had relationships with all kinds of people, and so did you, and that your decisions do affect how people feel. And so you don't want to blow up the relationships that you have. And so social media is one of those big ones because it's like we live our lives out on our social media. And so just know that you don't want to fall in the trap of be intentional about what you post, and also think through the lens of how do other people see this. Again, you're not being controlled by this, but at the same time, you want to have empathy. You want to be aware. Don't be stupid. That's the point, right? And so here's the 7 biggest traps that I would say, avoid after losing your spouse. There's obviously more, but these are just hopefully 7 that will help you in this time. Hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for watching.